Welcome to Daybreak with Ted Tibbett and Michael Paul. If you have a comment, you can call us now at 261-0898 or pound 981 on any C Spire device. Our email is newsradiomornings@gmail.com.
I am the guy in the sky.
And we welcome you back into the program once again. 16 minutes after 7 o'clock. We're hanging around the 70 degrees, and you know, weekly, we normally will have on a congressman on our radio station we enjoy talking with about our district and other political matters. And this is actually the easy one, Michael, because I can say, Michael is with us this morning. Michael Guest, Congressman.
Hey, good morning, Congressman.
Good morning. Thank y'all for having me back on.
We're excited to have you. Thank you for coming with us. We appreciate it. And tell Peyton I appreciate her. She's always so easy to work with and helps me out trying to get you on. But in any case, a lot of stuff going on. I hardly know where to start this morning, but I'll tell you where we will start. Something that makes this country better. Today is National Day of Prayer. And just curious what you think about that and what activities you may have planned today.
You're right. The first Thursday in May is always National Day of Prayer, and so I was actually able to get out of D.C. Last night, Michael. I took a late night flight home. Votes, which were originally scheduled for today, were canceled for the funeral of Donald Payne. Donald Payne was a Democratic member of Congress from the state of New Jersey. He passed away last week. His funeral is today, and so to allow his friends and other members of Congress to attend the funeral, our votes was canceled. That allowed me to get home late last night, and as soon as I get off the air with you, I will be going to a prayer event at the city of Brandon. They have every National Day of Prayer. They have a breakfast to celebrate that. And then tomorrow I will be going to the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast in the city of Flowood. But you're right. When you think about our country was founded upon a belief in God, freedom of religion. If you look through our historical documents, you see that our founding fathers would routinely pray over important issues as they were trying to draft our Constitution, as they were trying to make those first steps to put us on a path for success. And it's something that we need to continue today. I think that as we continue to face issues in our nation, one of the things that we need to do is not only fight in the political arena, but we need to turn to God in prayer. And so this is a day for all Americans to kind of revisit, refocus, and so I'm excited to be able to get home to attend both of these events here in the metro area today and tomorrow.
Yeah, well, good. I'm glad you were able to make it back. That's good news. There's something that popped up this morning, and this is not something that I discussed with Peyton that we were going to talk about, and I just wanted to get your take on it because, well, you are a part of the Homeland. What do they call it? The
Homeland Security Committee.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry. But this Biden parole migrant program that we've learned is flying people into the United States from several different countries, but they're landing mostly in Florida. We got this morning from our Fox News affiliate website. And, I'm trying to figure out what in the world is going on and how 200,000 people can just typically that would come across the border can just avoid that and fly right into the country. What do you know about this?
Yeah, this is a program that we've been pushing back, but that the Biden administration has implemented under Secretary Mayorkas. This was actually one of the grounds for the impeachment that was handed down by the House, is that they are circumventing our federal laws by creating a system known as the CBP-1 app where individuals can go online. They can apply to come into the country to seek asylum, and then the federal government will pay to fly them from their home country to the United States, where they will then be relocated as their asylum claims are being heard. You're right. The list of cities where these individuals were being flown was released earlier in the week. It seems like there were 45 to 50 some odd cities. But it seemed like there were 6 or 7 of those cities there in Florida. And so clearly the administration is trying to cherry pick where they are flying these immigrants and flying them into states that are Republican states where they would like to see their supporters, these people who are in the country based on Joe Biden's policies, to be able to relocate. And so this is something we've pushed back on. It is something that, again, we used as one of our articles of impeachment against Secretary Mayorkas, because we think his use of the program, and the program was created to allow people to begin the application process. It was created many years ago. It was supposed to be used only in a very limited, small segment of individuals. But like many things with this president, he's abused that. He is using this for a purpose that was never envisioned when a decade ago Congress created this program. And it's just another example of why we've got to have a change in the White House in November. If we have 4 more years of this president, I cannot imagine what this country will look like when he finally leaves office.
You know, it's interesting, but Ted and I were talking about this earlier, about the vibes I'm starting to get about this particular election cycle. And if you think about it, it has a lot of similarities to the 1960s when Lyndon Johnson dropped out, Richard Nixon got elected. Probably one of the, I guess, as far as we can tell, was the biggest landslide ever in the United States. Do you feel that vibe? Is that something that I'm feeling that's maybe not be right? Do you think we might be headed in that direction?
Do. No, I think there is a very real possibility. You know, if you look at, you know, there's about half a dozen things that I think that will really be driving this election, which all play in Republican favor. First is, you know, the border crisis, and you know, we as Republicans have tried repeatedly to fix the border. The president inherited the most secure border in modern history, and we've seen just the complete disaster it's become. You look at inflation that is impacting everyone's pocketbook. Everybody's dollar is not going as far. It is particularly impacting the middle class. Every time that we go to the grocery store, every time that we go out to eat, anytime that we do anything anymore, our dollar doesn't go as far. We see the national debt continue to rise. We're over $34 trillion. We see global unrest. We've got war in Europe. We've had conflict in the Middle East. We continue to see in the Indo-Pacific, China and Taiwan. Domestic unrest on our campuses that we're seeing, you know, today in Columbia University, earlier this week, last night, and right now at UCLA, as police are having to clear protesters. And then, you know, lastly, you just look at some of the policies, the progressive policies being pushed by this administration that 99% of the public don't agree with. Last week, the president came out with a policy under Title IX that is going to mandate colleges and universities allow biological males to compete in women's sports if they want to receive federal tax dollars to fund those universities. And so there's just a laundry list of things that this president has done that the American public disagrees with every decision that he's made. And I'm becoming more and more hopeful every day that not only will we retake the White House, but we'll also retake the Senate, and we will grow our very narrow majority in the House. And we'll see something we've not seen in roughly the last decade, where Republicans control not only the White House, but control both houses of Congress.
You know, Speaker Johnson has come under fire by one particular member of the United States Congress, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is it, that put forth a possible removal of him from office. And of course, you know, look, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. That's just my opinion. But what's yours?
You know, I think now's not the time to have that conversation. You know, now's the time to focus our fire on the Democrats, to continue to attack the administration over what we're seeing. And so, you know, I agree with President Trump, Jim Jordan. You know, that at this point, one of the worst things we could do is have a protracted speakers battle where we're trying to determine who is going to lead the House of Representatives. We did that last year. Last year, Kevin McCarthy was removed, and for almost a month, there was no action taking place in Congress. We were paralyzed, and the focus again turned not to what the administration was doing, not to what the president was doing, but to the infighting within the Republican Party. We don't need that to be the headlines for the next 4 weeks or 4 months. We need to be shown as being unified and fighting for the Republican principles. There's, I've heard it said before, there's a difference between fighting to fight and fighting to win. And so my question to Marjorie is, what does winning look like? Because we know when we got rid of McCarthy, Steve Scalise didn't have the votes to be Speaker. Jim Jordan didn't have the votes to be Speaker. Tom Emmer didn't have the votes to be Speaker. And so we ended up really by default with Mike Johnson. And so if she is successful in the removal of Mike Johnson, what's the next step? Who does she have in mind to be the Speaker? And I don't think it's a good answer to say, well, anybody would be better than him. Because I think clearly that's not the case. I mean, we may disagree. I mean, I disagree with some of the calls that Mike's made. I disagree with the fact that he separated Ukraine funding from border funding. And that's why I voted against the Ukraine bill. And that's why Mike Ezell and Trent Kelly, one of the reasons they voted against Ukraine funding was because we were promised by our leadership, by Mike Johnson, that he was going to keep those two together to pressure the Democrats to do something on the border. He later changed his strategy, and I disagreed with that, and I voted against the legislation. But, if Mike is removed, I think we go through another prolonged, protracted selection for Speaker, and I think it only weakens the Republican Party.
So if I got what you just said, to sum it up, let's have this fight, but let's have it next year.
That's right. Yeah. And look, I'm all about having an open discussion and getting in there and having this fight. But that fight needs to happen after the November election. That fight does not need to happen now, as things tend to be, just as you were saying earlier. We seem to have the momentum in our favor right now, and the last thing we want to do is direct attention away from the real issues that the nation is facing, and have the media and everyone talking about the internal fighting between Republicans in the House of Representatives.
About a minute and a half left. Let's talk a little bit about some of the positive things that might be happening. Are there any conservative bills that will be passing the House anytime soon? The thing is, Michael, is we will be able to pass bills out of the House. We passed some bills just this week, opening up federal lands to drilling and mining, so that we can mine critical minerals, that we can drill for oil and gas. But the problem becomes, once those bills pass out of the House, those bills make it to the Senate and they sit on Chuck Schumer's desk, and Chuck Schumer never brings those bills up for consideration. I think of H.R. 2, the Republican bill to secure the border. We passed that bill last spring. And so for over a year, the most aggressive border security bill in American history cannot even come up for debate or vote in the Senate because Chuck Schumer continues to hold that bill hostage. And so that's another reason why, for Republicans to get our priorities, we not only have to get them passed out of the House, but we've got to be able to have a Republican leader in the Senate who will bring those bills to the floor, so that hopefully we can get them passed out of the Senate and then later signed into law by the president. And so we're going to continue to work to pass conservative legislation, but I feel that much of the legislation that we're going to be passing out of the House will hit a roadblock once that legislation is sent to the Senate. I guess it's election year, and the Democrats don't want you to get any kind of a win. They want to keep you from winning anything. And in fact, that's what they did with Mayorkas. And in fact, what they did is set themselves up at some point in the future for this to happen to them. They did that with the Supreme Court justices, and it bit them in the rear. It'll happen again. Thank you so much, Congressman, for joining us.
Yes, sir, Michael. Thank you, and Ted both. You'll have a great day.
Wow, what a great guy. 7:30, bottom of the hour. Good morning. At 7:45, we'll be talking about a veterans blood drive. Back